one. Boom! There it is, ladies and gents. We're ready to rock and roll again. Do you love your business? Or are you just stuck in it? Well, let's figure that one out today. Let's find out how to love your business. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, ladies and gents, let's do this thing. You know, when COVID happened, many entrepreneurs were faced with catastrophic business problems. Some were not able to solve the problems and, well, went broke. Others found ways to adapt and thrive. And today's guest went from a projected $150 million a year to zero, but managed to bring his company back to life. With over 250 million published copies of his magazines and some major airlines as clients, he was able to build Reach TV into the biggest airport TV network in the world. And I can't wait to hear how he did it. So let's welcome to the show, CEO of Inc., Mr. Simon Leslie. All right, let's jump into this thing. Sorry, Simon, let's jump into this thing. Welcome to the program.
It's good to be here. It just made me chuckle because my mum used to say to me, because I taught you how to walk and talk, and now I just want you to sit down and shut up. So when the intro played, that just triggered that memory.
That was perfect.
Shut up and sit down.
There we go. That's how we roll. That's how we roll. All right, ladies and gents, shut up and sit down. Let's learn how to fall in love with our business. Simon, entrepreneurship, the funny part about it, when an idea clicks in your mind, you're like, I'm going to solve this problem. I'm going to start a business. I always equate it to buying a lottery ticket. You buy a lottery ticket and your odds of winning are really small, but for the moment that you hold that ticket in your hand, you start to envision this future possible reality that could be. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start, that's the love that they have for their business, this passion, this idea of what it can be. And then reality sets in. Tell me your story, man. How did you start off in this space?
Let me ask you a question. What's the first thing you do when you build a house?
A dream. I'm imagining, right? I start thinking about what the rooms are going to look like, where I'm going to put my desk, where I want my place to be. It's a dream at first.
So 90% of people, so 9 out of 10 will say you put the foundations, and you're one of the one out of tens, because you need a dream, you need a plan, you need a vision, you need imagination. You go and you draw this thing that you want to build and what you want to live in the room sizes. Then you go to an architect and he designs it to the millimeter of every room size, of every window, of every gable. And then he'll give you the plans, and you'll take that plan to a builder who'll then cost it all out for you and say, well, this is how much it's going to cost you. Actually, today that's a lot harder than it used to be.
Yep.
And then you'll build the foundations. So there's 3 steps before you even start building a house. And that's what building a business is the same. You need to have that vision, that dream of what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. When you walk through that door with your business, with your staff, with your product, what's it going to feel like? How's it going to feel? Because most people get fed up and bored by it very, very quickly because it's not easy. I heard somebody say on one of your earlier shows that, 50% of businesses don't survive 5 years. It's 1% actually of businesses don't survive 5 years. I mean, it is so hard to succeed in business. I had 4 failures before I started this business. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like to go through failures, and I know what it's like to go through challenges. The last 28 years now of being in this business has seen some tremendous times, and but nothing will ever come close to what COVID did to our business and how we had to rebound from that. And it's been a mad journey. And I'm excited to tell you about it and share some of the things that I learned. I think I want to share one thing that I want, because I always say to people, just listen. There's going to be one nugget in every podcast. You don't have to get lots of bits out of it. Just get one thing. If you get one thing, then it's been a great podcast. And the one thing I want people to remember is this. Every opportunity is gift wrapped in problems.
Yes.
Let me say that again. Every opportunity is gift wrapped in problems. And if you're not prepared to unwrap those problems, and you don't know how many layers of problems there are going to be, you're never going to see that opportunity.
They're disguised. They're like Easter eggs. You're just looking for them all over the place, except where you see an egg and inside you got candy or money or whatever, the gift, the opportunity that's there. Everybody sees this thing that they're not going to pick up. Oh, that's a little weird. I don't want to touch that. Oh, that's somebody else's problem. I don't want to get involved in that. The problems are the opportunities, but it's a matter of perspective. And I think it comes down to, in our own life, we've been trained and conditioned to walk away from a problem, to avoid the difficult, to find the easiest road possible. But like Les Brown says, if you do what's easy in life, your life will be hard. If you do what's hard, your life will be easy. Now, I love cliches and I love the way they work because they get my mind thinking about all the cool things and it's a great response. But the reality is the action that one needs to take is not easy. And it is littered with potholes and stakes and prickly things and poisons and all kinds of stuff that comes along the way. But a good entrepreneur sifts through all those things. And I think what you said at the beginning, that why, that dream, that reason, that's what keeps us going forward. What are some of the, tell me that story. I want to know the peak that you were at before you faced down and started sliding towards the bottom when COVID hit.
So 2019 was our greatest year ever. In 2007, they told us print is dead and the in-flight magazine was never going to see the light of day anytime soon. 12 years later, this was our best ever year. Every single one of our magazines had a record performance. There was nothing we could do. Everything was just firing on all cylinders. We entered 2020. We're optimistic. It's an election year. It's Olympics, World Cup. I can't remember, but it was everything was happening in that year. It was going to be a great year. And then along comes this horrible little pandemic, and literally the phone calls started coming, and they're saying, "We're taking your magazine off the plane. We're taking your magazine off the plane." And we went from 36 clients to one. One client kept the magazine going, which was American Airlines. And then bizarrely, when everybody else started putting them back, they took it off. So we literally nearly lost every single one of our clients. And we had to, I don't like the word pivot because pivot means you're just going around in a circle. We had to rethink about what the business was going to look like. So it was, I'm a 28-year-old startup because I'm behaving like a startup again because I've had to go back to startup thinking and behavior. Is what do you do when you're starting a business? Because it was all new, and every angle that we do today is a whole new set of products. It's a whole new set of thinking. Everything is different. Now, it's a better business than the one we had before. The margins are better. The way we sell it is improved. So we looked at every element of the business and said, I want to improve every single thing we do. How we collect our money, how we go to market, how we do this, that, and the other. Let's improve that. That's no good. That's the old business. No longer doing it that way. Now we're going to look at things in a completely different way.
Let's talk about that 28-year startup because, like we talked about earlier, I have that, I teach a class with 17-year-old seniors. They're all startup entrepreneurs in my class. They're at the very beginning phase. And we just went through week one of business, right? And so week one, I kind of let them go. I was like, okay, look, this is how we do things in business. We're going to set 3 goals for the week and we're going to reassess at the end of the week and see what happens. And I was debating, do I guide them with these 3 goals? Do I let them come up with their 3 goals? In the end, I let them come up with their own. And just as expected, most of them either didn't set a full 3 goals or didn't achieve all 3 goals because their goals were too optimistic at first. And it allows me to talk about failure and hitting this fail point early in this game to reassess where they're going. But at the very least, they took a couple steps forward. you're restarting your business. You're starting over 28 years later, and you have to look at it from a brand new standpoint as a startup. What are some of the things that a startup business needs to look at to improve their odds of success?
Cash. You know, I don't know how many young entrepreneurs come and see me and say, look, I want to start the business. I need cash. And I say, you don't need cash. I've started a dozen businesses and I've bootstrapped every single one of them. Now, there's two ways to run a business. You either bootstrap it or you go and find money and set it up. I've seen more failures from people who've ended up taking lots of money. Because remember, for every dollar that you borrow, somebody wants $20 back. Just think of it like that. So before you make any money, you've got to pay them $19 more. Before you take a bean, you've got to pay him $20. Just think about that when you're borrowing money, because I think sometimes it's too easy to go and borrow the money rather than, really work it hard and find out if there's a market, find out if the product works, find out if anyone needs it. Half the products I see today, in my opinion, there's too many products. In my business, in the advertising world, over the last couple of weeks, all the big tech companies have reported sliding in sales or in profitability. And it's not that the money is disappearing. It's just that there's more and more products appearing. Amazon's ad business is growing so fast. Netflix is about to add advertising. So instead of it just being Facebook and Google, now everybody else is getting into the same business. And I think that's the problem. I think there's just too much choice. And it's watering down the opportunities for everybody. And certainly if you're small, you've got no chance of fighting with these guys for budget.
Yeah, and at some point, I feel like a lot of them are moving towards that space, but it opens up the doorway for other platforms as well, right? So, let's look at TikTok, for example, who's dominating in the search space with a giant its opponent is Google. Like, whoever thought that they would come around and compete with Google? And the funny thing is, I was having a conversation with some kids today, and I was like, you guys don't even know what it was like to live in an age without Google, much less in an age with Google. But now we're entering the TikTok era, right? Or phones, exactly. We're entering the TikTok era. So I feel like when a lot of these companies end up moving in a direction, maybe they're all kind of following that same herd mentality. Again, it opens up the door for somebody else to say, wait a minute. Now you're focused on your bottom line, and you're forgetting that the client, the customer that came to you at the beginning had his or her own needs at first. So, doesn't that kind of open the door as well to somebody else? Like, for example, we're moving away from print. Okay, well, let's start a TV network. Like, isn't that going to be a little bit different when you shift?
I think the thing, I guess the way to look at it is this. There's always opportunity. And if we are entering a recession, which everybody keeps talking us into, by the way, I'm not participating this year. I've decided not to bother.
Opting out of the recession. That's right.
I'm opting out. Yeah. A bit like the cookies. I'm opting out of the recession. I'm not participating. There's going to be opportunities. There's going to be companies that come, go, disappear. People who are once great are going to fizzle out. And I think even the big ones are going to struggle. They're going to find competition in all different places. And I think it's exciting. I think it's an exciting time to be around, to be looking at opportunities. Here's my take on opportunities. They are everywhere. You have Shark Tank, actually I noticed you have Dragon's Den now in the States. And you're sitting there watching this and you go, oh, I had that idea. Idea. And your partner goes, no, yeah, but you didn't do anything about it. That was the opportunity visiting you. This is how I understand how opportunities work. And remember, opportunities are just gift wrap problems. Opportunities come and they visit us. And if you're not awake, aware, and available and ready to take them on, they knock on the next door, or they go down the road, or they go to a different country, and they find somebody else who might run with that opportunity. And they might fail at it. And then somebody else will pick it up, and somebody else. And that's how the world works. There are opportunities in love, in business, in work, in growth, in promotion, in demotion. All the time we're getting presented with opportunities, and we have to be available and ready to take them. Because I promise you, today, where you are, where your feet are, opportunities are passing you by and you miss them. You don't, unless you get yourself in that energy state where you're ready and open to take on things, you're going to miss opportunities that present themselves to you.
I love that you say that. The opportunities are present at all times. Opportunities tapping on your shoulder. Are you going to take advantage of it? And when you hear people say things like, "That was my idea. I had that idea." I love what Billie Jean says. He has a line that I love. There's no such thing as $1 million idea, only $1 million execution.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about falling back in love with our business. So let's say we've been executing and maybe we're stagnant. We have been in business for 5 years, but really we've just been repeating the same year of business 5 times. We haven't actually improved. We're at that point where we feel that plateau, that feeling where I don't know if I want to get up and do this every day anymore. How do I fall back in love with my business?
I think this is a really interesting chain of thoughts that go through my head when I get asked that question. I look at some of these successful people, 27-year-olds, sold their business already. And I think to myself, you've only done 5 series. You've only done 5 league performances. You've only gone through 5 leagues. You've got to do that for 20 years. That means you've got to do it 5 more times and still be successful and still be there at the end of it. And I think it's quite sad, that people are achieving so, and it's quite a few. So this is what I want people to really focus. In general, it is a long game and it takes a lot of time. There are, I can't think what the right word is. There are standouts in everything. Not everyone is a Musk, a Gates, a Jobs.
Outliers.
Outliers. There are always outliers, and there are always freaks to every scenario. But in most cases, in order to stay in business for 25, 28, 30 years, you've got to find that passion to turn up every single day. I've sold this business 3 or 4 times and I'm still here and I still love it like it was like I probably more love it today more than I did 25 years ago, because 25 years ago I didn't have any money. I didn't have the knowledge that I have today. At the end of the day, when the fish and chip shop was giving away their food at 10 o'clock at night, that was my dinner because I didn't have enough money to eat. That was a completely different situation to where I am today. But every couple of years, I asked myself the question, why am I doing this? Why am I still doing it? Why do I still turn up? And that's what the pandemic really gave me. It gave me an opportunity to really fall in love with the business again and what the business should look and feel like, what I wanted people to feel like. We refurbished our office in London. We have offices in London, Miami, and Singapore. And it's a cross between Soho House meets a 5-star hotel, because I wanted people to come back to work and rebuild with me, because I wanted them to feel amazing at work. I wanted the surroundings where you felt like you were going to a 5-star hotel or you were hanging out at Soho House for the day. And that's really important. Our office in Miami has a full-time studio where we're shooting content for our Reach TV network. And, all the time, celebrities are popping in, sports stars are popping in. It's a great place to work. And, I've had to do this again. I've gone from 300 staff down to probably 70 or 80, and now we're back up to about 150. And it's about how do I get people to want to come and build this with me? Because everybody has a lot of choices today. There is, it's I guess it's a job hunter's paradise right now. And it won't be like that forever. So I just want to make sure that the people who work for me, who work in our business, have the opportunity to feel like they're running their own business, because that's really important to me. Because if they feel like they're running their own business, they don't hate their boss. They're not angry with the boss all the time. Because someone asked me that question the other day and said, "What's a good boss?" And I went, "Well, I guess a good boss is somebody who gives you everything you want. It's like a good parent, yeah? When you just say yes to everything because that makes you a good parent."
No, not necessarily.
No, exactly. It's about discipline. It's about pushing them to do what they don't know they're capable of doing. A good boss is somebody you probably dislike enormously. When you look at these behind the scenes of the football teams or the soccer teams, these guys are, they're stroking, they're pushing, they're prodding, they're kicking, they're throwing the hairdryer at you. That's what a good boss will do. They will find your inner nerve to get the best out of you, because you don't know how good you can be. You think you might do, but I want to bring you to a place where you can really live out all your dreams. And that's what the business has been doing for 28 years.
Well, let's talk about that. So the solopreneur's out here and he's working. He loves his business. He loved it, especially when he started. He might be getting a little burnt out, doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe right after the pandemic or in this current situation, their business is not growing. And then, in business, if you're not growing, you're failing. How do they turn that around? How does someone who is dealing with a business failure, how do they turn it around? What's the first couple things they got to do?
First thing is not try and use the same brain to fix the problem that's causing the problem.
Yes.
I always say this: go as far away from the problem as you can afford to. If that means you can take a 3-hour drive, or you get on a plane and fly to Miami and sit on the beach with a white piece of paper and doodle and start thinking about exactly why you're doing what you're doing. Why do I do this? Why do I run this business? Does it still have a passion for me? Do I still have that passion for what I do? Because there are lots of elements of the business that they might be doing which are just that's what's draining them. They might be doing the accounts, they might be doing the chasing the money, the horrible bits, as opposed to the bits they don't love. And I think they probably haven't found the right team around them to help them grow the business, take the business to another level. Because this is the biggest challenge, especially for people in your sweet spot, is you can get a business to a 0 to 2 or 3 million quite quickly. Getting it from that level to the next level is the hardest thing. That's probably of every phase of business, that's your hardest bit, from 5 to 20. And the skills that got you from 1 to 5 are not going to get you from 5 to 20. Your thinking has to change. The way you go about things has to change, and your team has to be a better team. And also, you don't know how to hire properly. You don't know how to recruit properly. You don't know how to ask the right questions. You don't know how to negotiate properly. Everything changes. Suddenly you're dealing with bigger customers who want longer credit terms, who want longer, more detailed information to do business with you. And you're like, do I really want to jump from it? I mean, someone asked me this question once, and I just said, if you can stay as small as you can for as long as you can and make enough money, do that. Because once you cross that line, you're in a whole new, different set of problems.
It's rare that people talk about that sort of thing, right? And I'm going to 100% agree with you. My insurance agency is in that like $2 million a year take-home commission range. And we've been stuck at that 1 to 2 million marker for quite a bit. And we've been, me and my partners keep going back and forth, and we're finally looking into other options and other things outside of our own scope to help grow that. Because you're right, we got to that point really quickly. Excelling beyond that $2 million marker, that's been the tough part. And a lot of the things that you said, we've ran into issues, hiring issues, firing issues, lawsuits, like all kinds of different stuff that happens at that level. Never would have thought we'd have those issues, but they exist, and it's up to us to go in and solve those problems. Getting to that 2 million marker for some people, it's difficult, I think, when they have that solopreneur hat, but at the same time, excelling past that might not be something they want to do. How do you define success in your life? Is it a dollar? Is it a lifestyle? Is it a time frame? How would you define success?
Before I answer that, can I just go back to that last point? Because I think you've triggered something which is really, really important. From about 2005 to 2013, we were 1 to 2 million. We couldn't get out of that 1 to 2 million. It was 1.2, 2.1. It was just every penny we got, we reinvested into the business. We're going to grow. And then whatever you invest in fails. When print was dying, or allegedly dying, we overinvested in digital to the point that we were on the brink of going bust. We had the liquidators trying to switch the lights off. From the minute I dealt with that problem and overcame that problem, we doubled our profitability, and we went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You need to go back, because it was literally not physical heart attack, but a business heart attack. Sometimes you need that in your business to then go back and say, this ain't working. I don't want to play in that game anymore. I want to change it to this game. And it was as simple as this: focusing on what we're really good at and doing it better. And then making sure that we just did that. Focus is the most important thing. And when I heard you talking about, we're looking at other things, that's the most dangerous thing you can do. It's going back and saying, okay, what made us flipping brilliant, and how do we stick to our knitting and really push it? How do we do what we're doing even better than the way we're doing it right now for our customers? And that's what made, absolutely propelled us, doubled our profitability and our turnover every year.
You mean double down on your fundamentals, on what was the key that got you here? You went from 0 to 2 million. What did you ride? What was the wave that you were riding that got you there? Focus on that, and how do you make that better? Did I hear you right?
100%.
All right.
And the question of success is, I don't like that word, success, happiness. They're labeled too much around or banded too much around, and everyone says, "Oh, I gotta have happiness." I was the most miserable git at 40. I had everything that I could ever imagined, and I was miserable. And the last 14 years, I've literally gone through a journey of finding what makes me happy and what makes me successful. Because if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said, going to the cinema in the middle of the afternoon, that's what's successful. I have a cinema less than 500 yards from my office, a beautiful complex. In the I don't know, 10 years we've been there, I've never been to the cinema in the middle of the afternoon. And I think it's probably just the fear of success, that fear of once I've done that, that's it, I can't do it again. But to me, success is doing what you want, with who you want, where you want, when you want. And if you can do that, and you can not worry about where the next dollar's coming from, if I can walk into a restaurant or a shop or doing something, then you should feel successful. You should be proud of yourself. You should be pleased with your achievements. And it is so personal, because somebody can look at me and go, "Oh, you're really successful." And I'm going, "I'm a bloody failure. I'm a school dropout. I've done this. I've nearly crashed the company 5 times. I've nearly succeeded 6 times. So I'm okay."
Yeah, but that's the reality of life, right? That's how it works. Our heart beats like, when you're in a hospital, you hear your heart beep, beep, beep. That's the flow of life. The stock market works the same way, ups and downs, peaks and valleys. I mean, okay, we have Instagram today, but we talked about back in the day, you look at photo albums and they're all the happy faces, but what you don't see photographed, at least not as often, are all the tears that are involved in that life. There's always ups and downs in everything. Business works the same way. You're going to have the peaks and the valleys. And I love how you defined your success value, because it doesn't have a dollar metric. It doesn't have a time metric. We're too competitive right now and trying to compete with other people, when really we should be figuring out what makes you happy. When you get up and when it's Sunday night, do you have anxiety because Monday's around the corner, or are you excited for Monday? And for me, that's the metric that I look forward to. Sunday night, I'm like, dude, I can't wait to get back to class. I want to see what my kids are doing, what they're up to, how much they've done in the past week. I'm excited to get to that next day. That to me is success. I always talk about how my wife is the most successful person I know, because since she was in kindergarten, she wanted to be a high school teacher. She would teach her teddy bears, and now she's doing it in real life. And to me, that defines success. Earl Nightingale said it best: a progressive realization of a worthy goal. That's success. Oops, maybe we lost Simon there for a little bit. Well, hopefully he comes back. But in the meantime, we're running towards the end of our time frame here, ladies and gents. So if Simon doesn't come back, success is an up and down metric if you're measuring it with dollars, if you're measuring it with time. But if you're measuring it with what is going to make you happy, then you can define that metric yourself. Live your life by design. And I want to make sure I give Leslie a shout out, because he wasn't here to do it at the very end. But if you guys want to reach out to him, he's got 2 websites scrolling across the bottom: www.luckyleslie.com. You'll find a bunch of information on who Leslie is and what he does. Or you can go to www.inc-global.com as well. And let's see, hopefully he comes back. And if he doesn't, well, I guess we're going to call it a wrap here. See, what did Adrian say? Adrian, what a good question to ask when you're vetting potential new employees. Man, that would have been a good one, Adrian. Man, I'd love to ask that one. I would love to ask that one, because I'm literally in the process of doing that too. And I feel like I ask a lot of questions naturally on the show, but for my employees, that's a tough one. I'm gonna hope he comes back, dude. I'm gonna hope he comes back. I'm just trying to kill some time here, Adrian, for him. So questions to ask a new potential employee. Dude, will you show up on time? I don't know, man. Thanks for jumping on, Adrian. You're always a rock star, dude. And I'm going to give a shout out to Adrian, by the way. So if you guys are in San Diego, or maybe you want a videographer to come out to you, Adrian kicks some booty. You like the intro that you have on our stuff? If you guys go to our YouTube channel, check out some of our parody videos. Adrian is the man. Or check out some work he's done for us. Empire in San Diego, car wrap business. He's done some great work for them as well. So Adrian, big shout out to you, man. Always supporting the show, always sticking around. Ladies and gents, doesn't look like Leslie's going to make it back, so we're going to call it for today. We'll see you guys again mañana. Peace, and we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get